Hi guys, it's Mrs. Renfro. Today we're going to look at the second lesson in your iReady packet. It is on page 4 and it is using equivalent ratios. Okay, now with equivalent ratios, I don't know if you remember, but we did proportions a lot for those. It just made it easier sometimes to do that. There's two ways you can do these. You can figure out the unit rate for one and then multiply times how many you have, or you can do the cross multiplying proportion way that we did in class. So I'm going to show you that way. I think most of you were familiar with that, so we'll try that. The first one says Josie is training for a race. The ratio of the number of minutes she runs to the number of miles she runs is 24 to 3. She plans to run 10 miles. How many minutes will it take her? Okay, so we're comparing the number of minutes to the number of miles. So what you want to do first is set up your ratio, which is 24 minutes over 3 miles. And the first thing I notice when I do this, before I even start the rest of the problem, is that 24 over 3 means 24 divided by 3, and that's 8. I could use that method with this one because it's very easy. Also, I could go ahead and do the way that we've been doing it, is set up the rest of the proportion. So it says she plans to run 10 miles. And you remember we had to set up where minutes was right across from minutes. So we're going to have X minutes. That's how much we want to find out how many minutes it will take her. And then put 10 miles on bottom. And then I would normally cross multiply, but I'm going to simplify first. So the 24 divided by 3. If I divide 24 by 3, I get 8. And if I divide 3 by 3, I get 1. So now I have 8 minutes over 1 mile. And that makes it a lot easier because now we have 1 times x, which is just x, and then 8 times 10, which is 80. And our units are going to be in miles. Whoops, I'm sorry. Our units are going to be in minutes. How many minutes will it take her? So 80 minutes is our answer. And circle your answer. Okay? Number 2 says a chef planning for a large banquet thinks that 2 out of every 5 dinner guests will order his soup appetizer. So that's important. I'm going to underline that. He expects 800 guests at the banquet. Use equivalent ratios to estimate how many cups of soup he should prepare. Okay, so our first ratio is 2 out of 5, but we need to know what that is. So 2 are going to order soup, so I'm just going to put an S, out of the 5 dinner guests. So I'm just going to put a G for guest. And then I need to set it up to an equivalent. So he expects 800 guests, so that's going to go on bottom with my guest. And then on top, I don't know how many you're going to order soup out of that. So I have my X there. And that's what I'm trying to find. How many cups of soup should he prepare? So 2 out of 5, there's nothing I can simplify there. So I'm going to leave that the way it is. And then cross multiply. So I have 5x equals 1600. Okay. Now, which I cross multiplied here. So now I can divide by 5 to find out how many cups of soup I'm going to need. Sorry about that. Okay. So then x is going to be equal to 320. and that's 320 guests. So that means that he needs to order or prepare 320 cups of soup. Okay. All right, let's go down to number 3. Fred is making a fruit salad. The ratio of cups of peaches to cups of cherries is 2 to 3. How many cups of peaches will Fred need to make 60 cups of fruit salad? Okay, so our ratio to start with is 2 to 3. And that is 2 cups of peaches. So I'm going to put a P there. 2 cups of cherries. And I'm going to put a C there just so I know what they are. Okay. Now, the question was, how many cups of peaches will he need to make 60 cups of fruit salad? So that's not going to work for that, is it? We're not wanting to find how many cups of peaches to how many cups of cherries. We want to find how many cups of peaches to how many total cups. So what we need to do is add the 2 and 3 together. So we have 2 cups of peaches, 3 cups of cherries. That's going to make 5 cups total. So I'm going to erase this, and I'm going to put 5 total. So 5T for total, okay? And then we know we have 60 cups total of fruit salad. And we want to find out how many cups of peaches he's going to put in there. So my X goes here, okay? So now, again, 2 over 5, there's not really anything there that I can simplify. So I'm going to cross multiply, and I will have 5x equals 2 times 60 is 120. So then I'm going to divide both sides by 5. Sorry, I'm writing too big here. 120 divided by 5 is 24. So I have x equals 24. And that is 24 cups of peaches. So that is my answer right there. Okay, number 4. A community garden center hosts a plant giveaway every spring to help community members start their gardens. Last year, the giveaway supported 50 families by giving away 150 plants. Based on this ratio, how many plants will the center give away this year in order to support 65 families? All right, so we have that first ratio, which is 50 families and 150 plants. When I write that down, I notice, first of all, that I can divide 50 by 50 and 150 by 50 to simplify that and make it a little bit easier to work with. So I'm going to do that right off the bat. 50 divided by 50 is 1. 150 divided by 50 is 3. So we have a 1 to 3 ratio there. Okay, now we can work the rest of the problem. We want to find out if they're going to serve 65 families, which goes on top, 65 families, how many plants will they need to order? So I have X for my plants. Okay, so now I can cross multiply and solve this. So X equals 65 times 3, which is 195, and my label is plants. And then circle your answer. And if I go too fast on any of these, you can always pause, rewind, whatever you need to do to look at the numbers. And I'm trying to write as neatly as I can, but I am writing on my laptop and it's a little bit difficult. Need a pen. Okay. Number 5, the first week of January, there are 49 dogs and 28 cats in an animal shelter. So I'm going to underline those, dogs and cats. Throughout the month, the ratio of dogs to cats remains the same. The last week of January, there were 20 cats in the shelter. And the question is, how many dogs are there? Okay. So my ratio is 49 dogs. I'm going to just put a D for dogs to 28 cats. Okay. And there's nothing there that looks like I can simplify. Well, I guess I could divide them both by 7. If I divide them both by 7, I get 7 on top and 4 on bottom. Okay. Then I want to do my ratio of cats. There's 20 cats. That goes on bottom. And on top we have X. Okay, so then we have 4x, I forgot to cross that out, sorry. 4x equals 7 times 20, which is 140. And then we're going to divide by 4 on both sides. 140 divided by 4. Make sure this is right. Is that right? Let me see. I need to find my calculator. There we go. So 140 divided by 4 is 35. So we have 35 dogs. And circle your answer. Okay. Now, number 6, a wedding planner uses 72 ivy stems for 18 centerpieces. When she arrives at the venue, she realizes she will only need 16 centerpieces. How many ivy stems should she use so that the ratio of ivy stems to centerpieces stays the same? Okay, so how many ivy stems is what we're trying to find, okay? So my ratio is 72. I'm going to put I for ivy, and then 18, C for centerpieces. And I'm going to go ahead and cancel here. 72 divided by 18 is 4. And 18 divided by 18 is 1. So now I have a 4-to-1 ratio. Makes it a little bit easier to do the numbers. And you don't have to do that. You could go ahead and use the big numbers and just use a calculator if you are to work that out. That would be fine. And then my centerpieces are changing to 16, so that goes on bottom, and the X goes on top. So now I have X equals, and then 4 times 16 is 64. So 64 ivy stems is what she's going to need. And I circle that answer. And that is it for page 4. Be looking for the next video, which will be our next lesson on page 5, which is understanding rate concepts. I hope you guys are having a good day, and I will see you later.